tuning in. It's Monday, October 20th, 7 a.m. right here on Jocks. Huge weekend of college football. We're going to get to rivalry win for Alabama, another tough loss for the Auburn Tigers. We have coaches fired all across the country. We'll get to every single bit of it. GMAC, you were in Tuscaloosa, had a chance to call Alabama, Tennessee. Before we get to the actual game, just your weekend, how was it? You've been there once this year, but able to get back for a game that I know has special meaning for a lot of Alabama fans. You've played in that rivalry to be able to call it. Had to be pretty cool to be back again and be up there in the booth for that one.
It's the best, man. Being at home, you were at home. We'll get your take on what it's like going home for you in a minute, but it's just all your friends and family. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of wild to be at work and to have that world collide. I didn't get a chance to take Vince down to the field this week, unfortunately, and JG decided to stay back. Night games are a little bit trickier for us, so JG stayed back. Vince went to the game, but he didn't want to go to the game because I told him, I was like, all right, Vince, if you go to the game this week, we're probably not going to be able to, like, against Vandy, it was okay. Clark Lee was good, no problem. Probably can't wear your Ty Simpson jersey and, say hey to the Tennessee coaches. Like, it's just, we probably just need to take the jersey off, go neutral colors before the game, and when we go up to the box, you can go put the jersey back on. It's no problem. Uh, so he's like, no, I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm going to stay up here. I'm like, all right, buddy, no problem. But we had a blast. It was great. And it was an incredible atmosphere, man. That place, every time I go back, like what it was like when we were in school was great. It was. Like, I don't have any regrets. But I'm telling you, man, it's just better. It's just better environment now. It's just, I don't know what else to tell you. It's just a much better environment, and the energy level in the stadium is just better now, and the light show and the music and all that stuff is just better now. It's just improved, and it's really a lot of fun to be a part of, for sure.
No, they just put a lot more into it, and there's a lot more they're capable of doing. And the atmospheres were great when we were in school, but
They
it's
were
just
awesome.
it's extra now, and it's become its own show, essentially. I mean, these productions at college football games are, I mean, it's concert level stuff. Like I didn't have a game at Auburn last year, so I mean, there's 5 or 6 things they've added to what they do during the games that I had never seen before. So
Did you, by chance, see? Did they have the like the glow in the dark band going last week?
no, they didn't do that, but they did do, like, I'm assuming that was like part of the laser light show or something that they
It
that
was
they did. They
unbelievable.
did
Like
do
the week
that.
before, it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, it was like a glow in the dark band, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, it looked like, I honestly felt like I was watching like a Grateful Dead show. It was really freaking cool. It was really cool at halftime last week. They didn't do that this week.
No. Well, I don't. Maybe at halftime, I know the band played, but I wasn't. I didn't stay there and watch a lot of stuff at the half. I actually ran out to use the restroom at the truck, and I missed a pretty big portion of it. We had some stuff we were trying to get ready for the second half too, because we usually do the whatever we're going to do for our read and react hit during the game. We find that play during halftime, and I have to choose from 3 or 4 plays, whichever one looks the best. We have to get that one. I don't know if they did that at half, but I know they did some stuff at the end of the third, and there was some laser light show stuff on the field, and then there's like extra fireworks with that now. It's just, I mean, you've been to all these SEC venues like I have. They're all awesome. Like what they do at the end of the third quarter, what they do during games, during timeouts. And I'll say this, man, Jordan Hare Stadium was rocking. It was loud. It was a problem for Missouri. It's unfortunate that they, I'm not going to say they completely wasted it, but couldn't take advantage of it and get a win based on what the crowd did. The fact that the crowd still shows up and has the energy that they do, does the things that they do to try to help the team, and they can't find ways to win games in front of them. It's really disappointing. But we'll start with Alabama Tennessee first, the actual game and how this thing played out. Alabama gets the win, and it was one that I don't know if a lot of people anticipated the margin of victory to be this. We both talked about it Friday. We felt pretty good about Alabama getting the win. The physical portion of the Tennessee offense, what we were kind of interested to see how Alabama matched up to it. And defense fared well. Obviously, a massive turnover right before the half. What were your early thoughts before that play of just how both teams had things drawn up, sort of how the game was going, the flow of the game thus far up to that point?
Well, most surprising part of the first quarter and a half was how good Alabama's pass rush looked against an offensive line that played really well. I mean, Yanze Pierre was going up and inside. He was going speed to power. Like, I didn't think the pass rush was going to be much of a factor in this one. Did you?
No, I mean, well, first off, I didn't expect Tennessee to kind of try to sit in the pocket for a long period of time. But yeah, that was an issue. It's kind of been an issue. Maybe not an issue, but not a strength of Alabama's defense. So
Not at all.
yeah, that's not. We asked the question. I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, okay, who's going to be this guy now? Who's going to step up and be the individual or individuals that are going to be able to get this pass rush and be able to get to the quarterback?
Right.
So some of those answers starting to figure themselves out.
Yeah, so that was a surprise. Didn't anticipate that. But then again, I must admit, I think Alabama's defense in this game played really well. I know the numbers won't reflect that. The explosive runs given up are continuing to be a bit of a point of contention. But I don't know, man. Like, it's almost like they welcome the plays. They don't want to get beat on a big play through the air. So they scheme it in a way that they're like, all right, well, you're not going to beat us with one play downfield through the air. So what we're going to do is you can run it a little bit, and then inside the 20s, we're just going to buckle down. Like, they kind of play traditional bend, don't break defense. And as a result, like, they might accumulate yardage, but things start to tighten up in the red zone a little bit, and they try to be great when it comes to turning you over. So I don't know, man. Like, it's just a different style. But the explosive runs are a problem. And, I don't know. It was a weird game in that regard because they did feel like they were getting gashed on the ground, but it didn't really it didn't really happen all the time.
No, and that's the thing with Tennessee, man. That's one of the reasons their offense is tough to manage is they sit there and when they're stubborn with the run, almost by default because of what they do to you formationally, they lean. It's like they lull you to sleep, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of like what Ole Miss did in the quick game to Georgia. It's like they take the underneath, and at some point in time, somebody's going to break a tackle and it's going to go. And
yeah,
it's a Tennessee back's either going to bounce or you're going to fit it a little bit wrong, go wrong shoulder it, and then it's one cut and it's 20, 30 yards. So
yep.
I would imagine Kane Womack and his staff go into this game thinking, hey, there's going to be a 20 or a 40 or a 60. It's all right. It's just it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But stick with it. Don't get frustrated. Stay the course. If they get one, it's working. And no every defender gets mad when you give up an explosive play or a long run. But I would imagine that has to be the mindset when you're facing this offense going in.
Yeah, I think it's against them. Don't get got in a one-on-one outside. Like, we'll make you be patient. We'll make you snap the football. The unfortunate thing, though, is they did rip off a couple runs that were very, very disappointing, for sure.
No doubt.
All that being considered, like, good performance defense, they just make plays on defense. Like, that's kind of what I think is amazing about this group is while it's not as pretty as I feel like it once was, the personnel is nowhere near what it once was 10 years ago. I think they have fine personnel. I think they're a good, solid college football team. But the personnel is not what it was when you had 8 first-rounders in the front 7. It's just different now. But they just have good football players. Like, they're just solid. Like, they're very, very good football players that make plays. Like, they just make plays. Like, I'm not calling Bray Hubbard the second coming of Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I don't think at this point, Keon Sabb is the second coming of Mark Barron. And I don't think that at this point, Nakai Hill Green is Reuben Foster. But they just make plays, and it's fun to watch. Like, it really is. So I could really care less about their NFL prospects or things like that. Like, these guys are just rock solid. And I think that when the game is on the line, when there's a moment that they got to have it, they seemingly have found a way. And I think there's a lot to be said about that.
On the other side of the ball for Alabama, Ty Simpson, 19 to 29, 253, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He did have the fumble that he lost, but just overall, I mean, you go back and look at the amount of players that carried the ball, the amount of players that caught the ball. I'll stick with what I said last week, Greg. Ryan Grubb has everything at his disposal. It's every blade of grass. It's every inch of the field. It's every player on the roster, it feels like. And to me, there are folks that are still going to say, well, 120 yards rushing, it's not good enough. Yeah, if they don't learn to pound the ball, they're going to lose games. Or, being upset that Ryan Williams only runs the ball once and doesn't, catches 5 balls, but he can't get the explosives that they need. Whatever the complaints are, I just look at it from a completely different angle. And you don't have to be dominant in one fashion when you can be really good at almost everything. And that's what I see when I watch this Alabama offense. They just formations, play calls, read plays, play action, RPOs. They use everything on the field. And it's got to be a headache to defend, man, because it's every call has a weakness. Every call has something that you're allowing, so to speak. Like, we're going to let them there. We don't think they can do that. So if they can do that, that's fine. And I imagine Grubb just says, all right, they're going to give us that. Boom, we're going to take the out route. Or we'll throw underneath. Or we think the screen game can go today. Whatever it is, he'll attack it. And he just continues to do that. And it's impressive to watch because he does not get greedy, and he's stubborn in all the right ways calling these plays for Alabama's offense.
He is. And the other thing about Grubb is I think that, look, the offensive line had a tough day on Saturday. I mean, especially in the run game. Like, they were the way Tennessee knifes and moves and shoots gaps, like they're
also have some good D linemen. Like, some of those D linemen are
really good
players.
There's one or two things that I might have done slightly differently, but maybe a little more pin and pull. Just to calm him down instead of kind of running right in the teeth of it. But that's not really what he does. Like, he's not really a guy that's like, all right, hey, we're not going to get him between the tackles. Because every single time you run it up inside, they run the risk of playing their way out of a gap. Do they not? So I'm not sure about you. Like, I'm fine with – that was not going to be a running game. That was not going to be a game in which you run for 400, 300, 200.
No.
That was going to be a game where if you can get to 150, that's pretty good. And they didn't get there, not in a traditional run sense by any stretch. But was Daniel Hill carrying defenders in the fourth quarter? Yes. Did the run game clearly have an impact in the fourth quarter? Yes. Why? Because you stayed committed to it early on. Like, this was going to be a game in which the passing game is going to win it for you. For sure. Tennessee's got 2 corners, one that's very average. The other is good. But when you only have one, you're in a tough spot. It was going to be and Boo Carter in the nickel. So, like, you had to take advantage of their secondary. Everybody knows that. It's no secret. Gunnar Stockton in Georgia, and they're about as stubborn as it gets in the run game, and Georgia threw for 309 against them. So you're going to have to throw it, okay? And they did. But the run game, because they were patient in the run game and they made those defenders have to defend the run in the first 3 quarters, allowed Daniel Hill to be carrying defenders at the end of the game at 245 pounds. So it all works together in beautiful orchestrated form. But I agree with you. I would love for them to maybe have a little more variety in the run game with the pin and pulls and some perimeter runs, but they don't have a home run hitting back. When you tell me when the back that emerges out of their backfield that's a home run hitter, let me know, because I hadn't seen one yet. I love Jam Miller. I think he's a great back. He's just not a home run hitter. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I'm fine with it. When everything else is working and everything else is going for you, I don't think you have to have that aspect. And we've seen multiple times this season when it's either needed to be a massive part of the game plan or portions of the game where the runs needed to go, and it has. So if that's what you are, I'm fine with it. I think it's the teams, Greg, that are what you're describing, yet still go into games trying to run the ball 35 times right at the teeth of the defense, and it just doesn't work. And Ryan Grubb's not allowing that to happen. So therefore, it's not problematic in my mind. It's really not an issue because he's not going to operate it in a way that it's going to work against the team, and he can still find ways to use it as an advantage. So not an issue for me at all with how they've managed it. And I do think personnel is part of it, and I think scheme's part of it. We talk about that Washington offense all the time when they went to the playoff. And, Dylan Johnson didn't really get going until, week 8? And then all of a sudden they're a downhill run team. I mean, all of a
Well,
sudden
they
it's
played
like,
against
watch out.
USC, and he went for 275. So that was a
But then they decided
big
they
night.
could live there. Yeah, they decided, well, all right, we can beat this team. So then let's lean into it, and they did. So
Yeah.
as football season moves on, you know that means changes in the weather are coming. Protect your HVAC system with a checkup from a trained comfort specialist. So when the cold weather hits, you'll have peace of mind that you're protected by America's most reliable and trusted brand. Find a comfort specialist you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a train. Head coaching fires also happening. Florida is vacant. Who does Paul Finebaum think will be next? We'll discuss it right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. 7:19, Monday, October 20th, right here on Jocks. He joins us every single Monday. Thanks to our friends at Craneworks. You can see him on the SEC Network. Hear him 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays right here on Jocks. It's Paul Finebaum.
Now, Paul Finebaum.
Paul, great to have you on. We have asked you about this multiple weeks now. Finally, Billy Napier is out at Florida. The plan will now be put in place by Scott Strickland to find his replacement. Where do you believe that plan will head first, and what might be the alternates if that does not go through?
Yeah, after this debate going on for 2 years, it seems like if they don't swing very high, then they have wasted a great deal of time, even more than they wasted by bringing Billy Napier back for this year. So I still believe Lane Kiffin is in the mix. I think other coaches you can just plug and place anybody you want. But having been down there 2 weeks ago, and I'm not just quoting random fans, but it seems like everywhere I turned, just from an average fan standpoint, they wanted Lane Kiffin.
The big question, Paul, and I think Lane Kiffin very much will be in the mix there for sure. No, I don't think it's a doubt. I think that'll be the first phone call. Ole Miss fans, I think, are resentful to that possibility because they've ponied up $9 million a year and change to keep him there. Because he's already turned down one overture. Maybe they can get him up beyond 10 like they did for Cignetti a second ago. So that's my question, Paul, is the finances. Where is Florida from a finance standpoint to be able to go out and get, whether it's Eli Drinkwitz, Lane Kiffin, what have you?
Yeah, Greg, I don't think that is the issue for them because, people in Florida are plenty smart, and they look around and they see what's going on. So they're really, I say this as somebody who I feel like I don't know the difference between 9 and 10 million because I never see that kind of money, but there is really no difference between $9 and $10 million. It's just a matter of making the decision to pay Napier off, which was made, and then looking around at your boosters and the tributaries that come from your biggest people, corporate or individual, and say, we have to make this work. And I can't speak for anyone, but we all know Lane Kiffin on a fairly comfortable level. And it's just my observation that Lane Kiffin is thinking about Florida today. But, does it come down to the same thing that it came down to a couple of years ago? And Cole, you know this better than I do, but everyone that seems to know felt like they had Lane Kiffin until his daughter got in the way. Will that be as big of an issue? I don't think so. I think another thing is, where is Lane Kiffin in a couple of weeks from a CFP standpoint? And quite frankly, for all the big games on the board Saturday, Ole Miss at Oklahoma might be the biggest because should Ole Miss lose, then they become very iffy as far as the CFP. And if you're a Florida fan, you don't want Ole Miss in the CFP.
Paul, I feel like last year that became, and I don't know if it was because we hadn't done it and people just realized it late in the process, that became a major portion of the conversation. What you just referenced about being in the playoff, where's your coach going to be? Where's the coach you want to get going to be? Are you going to wait? I don't feel like I've heard anybody really discussing that to a further extent this year around. Are people more willing to wait? Do people think coaches are going to walk from potential playoff spots? Why do you think that's not more of the conversation about Florida, Penn State? Well, Penn State's not going to be in the playoffs, but where some of these schools are going to go to actually get those coaches to come in and be their next head coach?
I think some of it is it's a portal window move back. So it's not like it was a year ago where you almost have no chance. You can navigate it because I think the portal window would come, Greg, you have to help me here, after the second round of the playoffs. So that may or may not include some of these schools. You're down to very few schools at that point. It's still a pretty weird turnaround with all the speculation. Let's say you're playing in the first round at home or on the road, or the second round in New Orleans or wherever, and all the speculation is, are you going to Florida? It's pretty distracting at the biggest moment of your career. So I think that plays into it. We are on such an early schedule. We've seen early coaching firings in the most extreme situations, but now it's like every AD is looking over his shoulder and being asked by boosters, how come we still have this coach? And I didn't mean to lead that to an obvious question, but I think that's what people are asking. And so the CFP is not critical because it's still pretty up in the air who is going. But Lane Kiffin, had he pulled that game off in Athens, I would have said would almost have been a lock for the playoffs. Right now, he's in trouble from a football standpoint.
Well, if they get a win this week, they should be favored in every game the rest of the way, and should be a comfortable favorite in every game the rest of the way. Almost all their games are at home, with the exception of the game to Starkville in the season finale. So this win this week, massive for Ole Miss. They get one, probably in the playoff. They lose it, probably going to be tough sledding, and they'll be at the mercy of what happens elsewhere. What about there's so many other jobs, Paul, that I want to ask you about, because I feel like we're never, ever, ever going to see a coaching carousel quite as extreme as this. At least it feels that way. What about some of the other jobs that people are speculating about? And if you are a team that is not at the top of the totem pole, a la Florida, Florida's at the top. Let's just acknowledge what it is. But if you are an Auburn, you are a Florida State, you're a team that maybe isn't at the tip top of most desirable jobs, does that maybe lead you to potentially think twice about making the move? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday, the speculation was raging about Auburn, Florida State. And I think sometimes your schedule is really the most important thing. In Florida's case, I actually liked how they did it. If they had a win, although it felt like a loss, and it was just a good point to say, you know what, we're done. I think you really can't pick and choose. You just have to know when you're ready, and that fan base was ready. Auburn's fan base is close to being ready, but I try to just listen as I walk around town. And yesterday, walking around town, the question was, does Hugh Freeze still have a job? So it's pretty obvious we're now it's Monday morning. He will be coaching Saturday, but I think the real question is, will he be coaching after that? And I think that has yet to be determined. But the apathy that's creeping into the Auburn program is pretty frightening. I think other jobs are wait and see. I'm a couple hours away from talking to Brian Kelly. I doubt his mood is very good today, and I can guarantee you the mood of the LSU Nation is even worse. Other Florida State, I think they're in a real quagmire because they put so much into this, and they got one good game out of the redemption tour. So sometimes it's just a matter of feel, and sometimes it's just a matter of the right booster, Greg, saying, okay, we're all ready to go. And that happens at every campus, every weekend.
Paul, what is the situation with Florida State behind the scenes? I feel like this has changed so many times over the last maybe 6-8 years of they're going to have a third party run their athletic department. They're turning it over to the boosters, whatever it is. Now they need private equity to come in and help. They're suing the school. New president, not going to have a real athletic director. What is the situation behind the scenes, and how concerning should that be for whoever a candidate is to be the next head coach there if they make the move on Norvell?
I think it's very concerning because any coach has to know who do you work for, and usually it is an athletic director, and it's at every school there are usually 2 or 3 people that matter most, and as long as you stay in good stead with them, you're going to be okay. When you're dealing with outsourcing, you have no earthly idea what's going on, and businesses, as you both know, do not work like individuals. They care about one thing. If you put private equity into an athletic department, what matters? Return on investment, nothing else. So they don't sit around on Wall Street and go, let's give the Walmart CEO a couple more months. It's the quarterly reports in, you're either in or out. So I think it's very concerning. I think the state of college football is very concerning. But I know I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know.
Yeah, it's Florida State doesn't have any money. I'm kind of amazed at that because growing up, they were as big a deal as anybody in college football. So how is it that they have no money? I guess I just don't understand that.
Well, I think they made very poor decisions, and I think they have done so much damage to themselves internally. I mean, I ran into a Florida State fan the day after the Alabama game, and the guy looked at me and started harassing me and said, "Hey, yeah, so you don't think we're good enough for the SEC? We're going to the Big Ten." I'm like, going, "Good luck." So you know their attitude, Greg. You've been there. They have an inflated view of themselves. They're just not that important. And this turnaround this year has just been deadly to them because had they been a CFP team, they may have been able to get somebody's interest because conferences don't always. And I'm thinking more of the Big Ten than the SEC. Because I think we all know the SEC wants nothing to do with them. But had they been a CFA team, had they been drawing big numbers on TV, maybe the Big Ten would be looking more favorably toward them. But right now, they're not even helping the ACC bottom line.
All right, Paul. What are the parameters? What are the deciding factors? What needs to take place on either side for Hugh Freeze to maintain the Auburn job the rest of this year, or for John Cohen and company to make a change?
Well, I thought if he could win Saturday, he would have some momentum because then you could sell the crowd on. Listen, we only have 3 losses. We got maybe we can get to Alabama, but now that seems to be gone. And with every game and the schedule, it doesn't look that difficult. Except they still have a road game at Vanderbilt, which looks incredibly difficult. I think a loss Saturday, Cole, and tell me what argument you could make to retain him, knowing that you now have 5 losses with Vanderbilt and Alabama ahead. I just think the goodwill has gone, and I'm not trying to read the tea leaves, but it seems like more and more people are just flat out saying he was a mistake. I don't think he was a mistake. I agreed with the decision, so I'm not going to be hypocritical about it. I don't think it's as urgent to unload him as it was Billy Napier. I also wish Hugh Freeze would just be very careful what he says. I think he's hurt himself with public comments. I think he needs to show strength, not weakness. And there is a incredibly narrow path for him to save his job, but I think the clock is ticking very loudly for him.
Yeah,
Paul, go ahead, Greg.
And it's amazing to me, Paul, how often they just seemingly find a way to lose. Like, how does that? I mean, have you ever seen a team that? And they keep saying snake bit. No, we need to bounce or whatever it may be. But like this team just finds a way to lose on a week to week basis, like no one I've ever seen before. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, and what really pains me, and Cole, you can stand up because Auburn football fans deserve better. The Auburn family deserves better because this guy has just simply not delivered. You cannot argue with the statistics. And yeah, Greg, finding a way to lose is one of the worst ways to retain your job because you give fans no faith. I mean, you have to win some games, and I realize it came down to some kicks, and there's not much you can do about that midway through the season. They how many times this year have we said they should have won the game? But the truth is they've lost all these games, and there's nothing. Hugh Freeze, his argument to be retained is almost non-existent, and that's really the problem for John Cohen and the people that run Auburn.
I said in the first segment of the show, Paul, that to be inside that stadium Saturday night and to hear the fans, the noise that they were making, how they were getting into it, it's just utterly disappointing that you can't take advantage of that and utilize that to help you go win a football game. So I'd be in agreement with you there. Always appreciate the time. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
All right, Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, discussing a lot around college football. There's so much more for us to get to. We'll focus in on the Auburn game. How did that happen? Why did that happen the way that it did? We'll attempt to make some sense of it next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:37 Monday, October 20th. Jacksonville State gets the win over Delaware, 38-25. They're 4-3. Charles Kelly's Gamecocks are now. They run 50 times for 255 yards over the weekend. Troy takes down ULM 37-14. Trojans get to 5-2. Sanford gets first win of the season. They're now 1-6. They win at VMI, who's 1-5, 24-22. Preston Bird, 9 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Tell our listeners, Greg, before we move into this Auburn game about Shannara Flooring.
Well, Fu and his guys have done it again to continue to stockpile inventory. That inventory is now over 50,000 square feet of Core-Tec by flooring, or Core-Tec by Shaw in stock. It's the premium flooring, super durable, super dependable, will add tremendous value to your home or business. All you got to do is go and check out FooandYou.com. You can see all the options that they have at their disposal. And because of the amount they've acquired, they are now passing on that savings to you, 20 to 40% savings if you buy that Core-Tec from Fu and his guys at ShannaraFlooring.com. That's Shannara Flooring. So go and check them out. When you think you want some Core-Tec, call who? Call Fu. Call him today at his number. I'll give it to you in just a moment if this will load. But I would go online. It's always easier to remember this. FooandYou.com. That's FooandYou.com. And you can call him today at Shannara Flooring at 205-518-6423. That's 205-518-6423.
All right, let's roll into this Auburn matchup over the weekend against Missouri GMAC, one in which, again, felt like a lot of this was on repeat. And obviously it wasn't where I would want to go in the broadcast, but with some of the officiating and some of the calls, Tom and Jordan kind of forced to go down that path. And we had the discussion of, this fan base has been here. It's got to be frustrating for them. This facet of the game is something that they have felt has gone against them for about a month now, and that resurfaced. The only reason I bring that up is not to really focus in on what the calls were, how they went, but you wonder when things like that happen now where the team is. And I'm going to give Hugh Freeze a lot of credit here. When he met with us on Friday, he was very honest. And I understand that he has been honest mostly in the media. Some of that, as Paul just stated, has gone against him. And I agree with Paul about being very careful with some things that are said and how they're stated here in the next week or so. But one of the things that I asked him, Greg, I said, we saw your halftime interview going in after what happened on the goal line. Do you feel like that carried over into the locker room there and then maybe for the rest of the game? And he admitted it probably did. And he said, I had trouble composing myself there. He said I was distraught. I was frustrated. And he said, instead of coming in and deliver the message of, exactly how to go win the game and why we could do that, it was probably a little bit of frustration creeped in. He goes, so did that affect our team? There's a good chance that it did. I can admit that. And I respect him for saying that. But this is a game where, I'll share with you guys, just like he shared with us. He was ready to put Ashton Daniels in the game. Not necessarily during this game, but entering this game. Because some of the things with Jackson Arnold that Greg and I have tried to explain to you, that you, even as casual observers of college football, have seen on a regular basis, he's over it. He's done with it. We asked Jackson Arnold, Greg, I thought this was very interesting. I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on this. We asked him about, just this coaching staff and this offense and being coached in it. And he said, they coached me a very different way than I've been coached in the past. And we went to a few other things, and I circled back and I said, can you take us further into how you've been coached different? And he said, well, this offense gives me a lot more options. He said, under Levy, it was very much here or here. It was very, very point blank. If you have this, take it. You go 1, 2, 3, or you just tuck the ball and run. You're out. Throw it away. He said, if my fourth progression, let's just say, is Cam Coleman in a one-on-one with no safety, I can turn and I can throw that go ball right now. I can throw back shoulder right now if I've got it. And when we talked to Hugh Freeze, he reiterated that without us actually asking about it. So you immediately are looking at this like, all right, well, the head coach isn't making excuses because the quarterback just told us that this is what it is. And hearing the freedom he has, hearing the other options that he has, and still seeing the inability to let go of the football, you can imagine why people are so frustrated. And it actually brought more clarity to me of why Hugh Freeze would want to make a move. I don't think he necessarily wants to bench Jackson Arnold because of the kid or because of him, but because of the things that are there for the taking that are just not being taken advantage of. Fast forward into the game, I thought he did a better job with the quick game. I thought he did a better job in certain points in time saying, okay, this pressure's coming here. This ball's got to get out now. And it's like Freeze and I kind of joked about slide protection. He's like, I don't love it. It has its place. He goes, but I do know this. If you call to it and you get to it, the ball has to get out. I was like, wow, it's refreshing to hear somebody say that, actually understanding the operation of how quick protection should work. But all that being said, Greg, Jackson Arnold did make small strides in this game. I've seen some people talking about it like he made big strides. Guys, he was 18 of 30 for 207. It's not an elite day. It's not an amazing day.
Who's saying it's an
I
elite
understand
day?
he had
Are
a
people
couple
saying
drops.
It's an elite day?
Well, I've seen some people talking about, well, he looks better. He's making strides. It's a big step. And I'm just kind of like, just calm down. And yeah, I understand the drops. You know, one down the sideline was a big drop. I get it. But there are still concerns with what I saw Saturday as to how things are being operated that are inexcusable for a lot of the time. And I just, based on what I heard about it and then seeing it again, I don't know how many of them can be repaired moving forward. And some of the decision-making late in the game as far as strategic placement of what you wanted to do and how you were going to do it, there's no other way for me to say it than what were you thinking? Specifically by rolling a kicker out there that was 0 for 2 that is 140 pounds that a longer field goal is not going to be something that he's physically really capable of doing. Like that one I'll never understand. And we should have done a better job in the broadcast talking about his background in that moment. I don't think we had time really to do it. But you look back on it and the fact that, mentally, where is Alec McPherson right now after that? I can't even fathom, And he's
in
on
fairness, though, he has been money.
He had made 50-plus yarders in practice. He had that. I can share that with fans. I do know that. We talked about that in meetings, and that
Correct.
was said. But you got a kid that has had these physical struggles for well over a year now, who is getting better. He's on a new treatment regimen. I think he's up about 20 pounds since the Baylor game, which is remarkable when you see him physically. And I actually talked to him before the game and asked him how that was going, and he's like, "Well, I don't throw up every time I eat." I'm like, well, that's a plus, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Great kid though, like awesome kid, and you just feel for him. That's a miserable spot to be in when you don't have the leg that you once did. You don't have the leg that you feel like you should. You're 0 for 2, so mentally you're sitting there probably in a bad place anyway, and then roll out there for a 50-yarder. Like that's not one that really sat well with me, to be honest.
He's made 50 yards in practice, though. Like, he gets stronger every week. And, frankly, he's been money for him. So, like, that's why it's hard to be critical. Because it's like all you can go off of is based on practice. Like, this guy's clearly comfortable doing this from here. Let's go for it. And so, I don't know. I have a hard time saying it was the wrong decision. I have a hard time saying I don't like it because he's their guy. And he's kicked 50, 51, 52 yarders in practice. And he told us last week, he said, I wouldn't be surprised if as he continues to get stronger, continues to get better, like we can keep backing him up. That's just where he's at. So if he was good with us the week before at 50-51, then there's no reason to believe it wouldn't be good for y'all the following week.
Would it then be okay for me to shift being critical to when your field goal kicker has distance issues, either towards the end of regulation or in overtime, literally cannot take sacks at that point?
Yeah, well, that's a conversation beyond what we've already discussed. Like, that's an obvious one. You can't take sacks. I mean, that's when you're in fringe field goal range, ball's got to come out. Every quarterback needs to know that. Ever present in your mind, where am I on the field? And by the way, like, guys play a lot of football and take sacks in that situation. Like, they're not the only ones. You got to get rid of the ball.
It's unimaginable to see sort of how that portion of it late took place, how it went, and what it was. As Auburn tries to lift itself up off the mat now and go play an Arkansas team whose offense looks like it has absolutely found its way. Speaking of lift, Greg, tell our listeners about ProLift.
Well, ProLift Doors has been serving this community and down in Baldwin County for a while now. These are the pros when it comes to getting everything taken care of when it comes to your garage door. They're a locally owned and operated community-based company, 500-plus Google reviews. This is a group that has no service call fees. You only pay for the work, not for the visit. They work on existing garage doors or repairs. They can install new garage doors if you want. So if you have some issues, like if you notice some vibrations with your garage door opening, if there's delays, if there's unusual noises, vibration, shaking, call for a maintenance service today by calling the number locally here at 205-931-5927. If you're in Baldwin County, give them a shout at 251-210-2300. But I would just recommend, instead of trying to remember those numbers, go online, proliftdoors.com. That's proliftdoors.com. ProLift Garage Doors, lifting your expectations.
All right, a couple moments for you guys to get in. 800-239-9569. You can tweet in at Mac and Cube. Next segment, we'll get your feedback on Auburn or Alabama over the weekend. 8 o'clock, Dave Waters covers the Florida Gators. He's going to be with us to describe why the decision made now, maybe not earlier, and then what's next for the Florida administration when attempting to find a new head coach. When we get back into Auburn, Alabama in hour number 2, John Bryce of Coaching Search is going to join us and give us his idea on some of these vacancies, maybe what else he thinks opens up this weekend if things don't go a certain way. Obviously, Tyler Watt's with us every Monday at 9 to recap Alabama's game. Even though Greg was there, we'll get Tyler's thoughts of being inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday evening. All that and more next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Monday, October 20th, 7:52 right here on Jocks. Higginbotham hotline open, 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. Let's go to Rob in Helena. Wants to talk Auburn football. Welcome in, Rob.
Hey, good morning, guys. War Eagle Cole.
War Eagle.
So, make sure I got this right. Freeze's record, SEC record at Auburn is 5 wins and 15 losses. And his record against ranked opponents is 1 win and 12 losses. Do I have those facts correct?
I'd have to check the tape, but I believe that sounds right.
There's nothing else to talk about. I mean, he can blame officials and whine about that, and he can choose to not bring a kicker in that can kick a 40-yard field goal. The man is 5 and 15 against the SEC and 1 and 12. There's nothing. Give Durkin the reins. He has got that defense playing lights out, hair on fire, flying around, smacking people, and let Durkin go grab Dillingham or somebody at OC. But give Durkin a shot at it. And then my last point was, what did y'all say earlier that he was ready to start the backup quarterback, like pregame? He was ready to pull the trigger.
Start. No, not start. No, please don't misconstrue it that way. It was just shared with us that Ashton Daniels had a really good week of practice, and if some of the things that had been operating the way that they were, he knew he was going to have to make a move. And Jackson Arnold did not operate that way early in the game. He actually did some things well, and so I think that's why he decided not to make the move in this game.
I hear you, but the pick that Jackson Arnold threw, the 6-yard pick between his own guy straight to the other guy, that wasn't enough to pull the trigger?
I'd like to get Greg's opinion on it because he sees it through more of a quarterback lens, but I didn't look at that as an egregious throw.
Yeah,
I'm just glad that Jackson Arnold threw a pick. I think it's going to be good for him going forward. Like, all joking aside, like all right, now that the whole deal is like, how many times have we talked about with Jackson Arnold, like, hey, need to do this, do that, but main thing is like be more aggressive. I mean,
so Greg, I shared the Brian Kelly, Jaden Daniels story with him, and then I shared it with Hugh Freeze, and they both agreed. Yes, Jackson Arnold said, if you haven't heard that story, me talk about it. Early Jaden Daniels last year at LSU, BK told us he wanted him to throw a pick. We didn't understand it. Asked him to clarify. He said, we need to be aggressive. And most importantly, we need to let him know it's going to be okay. But if he doesn't take those chances, we're never getting explosives. And Jackson said, he goes, I can see that. And he goes, I probably do need to be more aggressive. When we told Hugh Freeze that, he kind of lit up and he said, exactly. Yes, please, more of that. Like that's exactly what needs to be happening here. And it had not been happening. So,
it's not that he was consciously thinking, oh, I'll protect my streak of 300 plus throws without an interception or whatnot. On the throw, I mean, the receiver, 23, Cobb or whatnot, he kind of baits him, and I think Cobb made the right decision. It's man coverage. Jackson's thinking it's zone. Cobb kind of, you want me to be honest? Cobb screwed him. Like, he didn't sit long enough. Jackson's thinking he's going to sit. Cobb all of a sudden breaks out, and if Cobb sits, it's right on his body. But in reality, he probably should have worked the in-breaking route right behind it anyways.
I actually think that's exactly the way Jordan described it in the broadcast, if I remember correctly. Again, I'd have to go back and listen to the tape. So we'll be back to talk more about the Florida job. Dave Waters with us next right here on Jocks.